Today, we're diving into the massive, high-stakes war over a product that might be sitting in your garage right now, the weed killer, Roundup. This whole thing is a story about a chemical used pretty much everywhere and a legal fight that is costing literal billions of dollars. So let's just start with this number, okay? $2.25 billion. That is how much a jury in Pennsylvania recently told Bayer, the company that makes Roundup, to pay one man who claimed the product gave him cancer. And believe me, that was not a one-off. Right before that verdict, a Missouri court handed down this one, $611 million for 3 other people. We're not just talking about lawsuits here. These are absolutely monumental legal statements. So the big question is, right, how in the world do we get from a common weed killer, something sprayed on 280 million pounds of crops every single year, to billion-dollar payouts? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack. It really all boils down to one single explosive accusation, that the main ingredient in Roundup is directly linked to causing cancer, specifically a type of blood cancer known as Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The chemical at the very heart of all this controversy is called glyphosate. Now, Monsanto, which Bayer later bought, first rolled it out way back in the 1970s, and for decades it was just everywhere, on farms, in forests, on front lawns, and nobody really gave it a second thought. For a long, long time, this was just another tool for farmers and gardeners. But then, 2015 happened, and a single scientific declaration in that one year turned this common chemical into the center of a global legal and political firestorm. This right here, this was the bombshell. In 2015, the World Health Organization's Cancer Research Agency, known as IARC, dropped this classification. All of a sudden, you have a major international health body connecting glyphosate to cancer. And that one statement, it became the scientific backbone for a legal avalanche. You know, that one statement from the WHO was pretty much all the opening they needed. For people who had been using Roundup for years and then developed cancer, well, the legal floodgates just burst wide open. Just get a load of this number. More than 100,000 people have already settled claims against Bayer, all of them alleging that Roundup is what caused their cancer. This isn't just a few cases. We're talking about a massive, coordinated legal onslaught. And the price tag for all those settlements? A jaw-dropping $11 billion paid out so far. Now, for most companies, a hit like that would be absolutely devastating. But for Bayer, sources say it's just considered the cost of doing business to keep their product on the market. And if you think this is all in the past, think again. It is far from over. There are still more than 63,000 lawsuits pending against the company as we speak. The battle is absolutely still raging in courtrooms all over the country. So here's the thing you have to understand. The key argument in court isn't just about proving the chemical is dangerous. The real knockout punch is this idea of failure to warn. The argument is that Monsanto and then Bayer knew about the potential cancer risks but chose not to put a warning on the label. That they basically hid the danger from all of us. And you know what? Juries have been finding that argument very, very persuasive. Okay, so after losing billions of dollars in court, Bayer is trying a whole new strategy. If you can't seem to win the game in the courtroom, well, maybe you try to change the rules of the game itself. And that is what brings us to the political arena. The company is pushing and pushing hard for a special provision that's been tucked into a government funding bill. The official name is Section 453, but its critics have a much sharper name for it. They're calling it the Cancer GAG Act, and they say it's designed to silence victims for good. So here are the two sides of this fight. On the one hand, Bayer is saying, look, this is just about standardizing labels. They argue that since the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, approves their label, individual states shouldn't be allowed to demand all these different cancer warnings. But critics say that's just a smokescreen. They're arguing this law is a get-out-of-jail-free card that would make it practically impossible for anyone to sue them for a failure to warn ever again. And this, right here, is the very core of the whole political conflict. You've got two major, respected bodies with completely opposite conclusions. Bayer wants the law of the land to be based only on the EPA's finding, which, surprise, surprise, would protect them. The plaintiffs in these lawsuits, of course, lean on the WHO's finding to make their case. This scientific disagreement is what the entire legislative battle really hinges on.
All right, so where does all of this leave us? I mean, we've got a product used all over the globe, a major disagreement between scientific agencies, and a super high-stakes legal and political war with no clear end in sight. It's kind of messy.
So here's the current state of play. Those 63,000 plus lawsuits, they are still working their way through the courts. The fight over that so-called Cancer GAG Act is happening right now in Washington. And while all this is going on, some consumer advocates are suggesting that people take matters into their own hands by doing things like eating organic, filtering their drinking water, and, you guessed it, calling their representatives.
And all of this leaves us with one final, and I think really crucial question. On one side, you have juries of regular people awarding billions of dollars based on the evidence they see. And on the other, you have a federal agency that says the product is safe to use. So when the courts and the regulators are in a direct conflict like this, who actually gets to decide what's safe for you and me?